All right, let's try this again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up on Break It Down with Brian H., we're going to talk everything that's happening in wrestling this week. Forbidden doors are open, dream matches are happening. And guess what? There's still a conversation about diversity. All that on Break It Down with Brian H., keeping it 100.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H., keeping it 100. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by the Wrestling Realm. As you can see, I got a Wrestling Realm Now podcast shirt on. Also got my Wrestling Realm Now mug. It's been a while since I did this, right? And that's wrote a rundown for a show. Usually I write one for Wrestling Realm Now. But for Break It Down with Brian H., I usually pick one subject, jump in, talk about it, go home, whatever. But tonight, it's a lot to talk about, brother. Just so much has been happening in the world of professional wrestling. So I said, guess what? I'm going to do a show, and I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to throw that ticker on the screen right now. So just to let you know where you can catch us on all these great platforms, like us on Facebook, Wrestling Realm. Make sure if you haven't done so and you're watching on YouTube right now, if you're watching it in post-production, click the subscribe button. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, one of them. You can rate the show. Bump us up, folks. Also on Spotify, did you know that if you're using your phone, because I upload this as a video, when I upload the Anchor, you can watch the show on Spotify through the apps, but you can also rate us. So give us 5 stars. And then, of course, you can buy this shirt that I have on at WrestlingRealm.com. Shout out to Jenna from the Mixed Tag Show. She'll be on later this week. Yeah, for those who do not know, we got some, the conversation's going to shift now, but, shout out to Jamari watching and appreciate you, brother. Shout out to D Jamari on Twitch. But, yeah, we're going to talk some wrestling, but also she just purchased her Wrestling Realm t-shirt, so we definitely appreciate that. Shout out to the Mixed Tag Show, her and Blue. If you don't, make sure you're checking them out each and every week. Mondays, you can get both of them. They talk about wrestling, talk about everything that's happening. And then Tuesdays, the Put You On segment, and what they simply do is put you onto the pro wrestlers you need to know about. Last week, they had on a couple guys who was on Wrestling for the Culture. So make sure you check them out. It's a lot of great wrestlers that's been on there. So I definitely encourage you to check out the Mixed Tag Show. As you know, it's a lot of great stuff happening here in on the internet. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts this week. I still got some catching up to do. Just got finished listening to Public Enemies. Before that was Black Wrestling. Obviously, y'all know I work on Mac Mania, so make sure you check that out each and every Tuesday. So make sure you check that out, and then you can also, that's on the Ringer Wrestling Network. So totally different network, but I'm working on there. You see some of the things that we talk about. So make sure you check that out. Earlier this week, also, I had the guy who produced Sammy Guevara's music. He's produced so many wrestling theme music, and that is the one and only Montezi. So make sure y'all check out his that episode I had with him. As we talked about just life as a wrestler fan and him growing up, getting into music, and how he will be somebody who will make it from the wrestling world first into mainstream and not be like some of these other rappers who, you find out they're wrestling fans later. No, y'all gonna know that Teezy is one of us. So, yeah, make sure y'all check that out. Shout out to Amber Rodriguez and Blake. I had known of Teezy through them for years. Blake, talking about, some collaboration opportunities and him doing a couple of Amber's themes. So we was finally able to make this happen. So I was definitely happy about that. He's also the co-host of the Swerve City podcast. So you've seen that on the WWE Network and on Peacock. So make sure you check that out. Yeah, so that's just a couple plugs. Want to make sure you check out. Black Magic was the team that was on Put You On this week. The name was escaping me, but yeah, Black Magic. So make sure y'all check them out. Man, it's been a busy week. I tell you. So if you're out there watching on Twitch, thank you. Make sure you stream. I actually picked up a couple games today. Picked up WrestleMania arcade game. I thought that I'm gonna get it. It's kind of like $35. I want it, but I said, you know what? Let me get it. Add it to the collection, right? And I also picked up Backstage Assault, a game that I kept hearing about. I said, look, I got Mayhem. I got WCW vs. the World, WCW Nitro, World Tour, Revenge. I gotta add Backstage Assault to the list. And one day I'll go back and get some of them old WCW games for Nintendo and Super Nintendo. So, I've also finished my Madden collection, as a couple of them will arrive in the mail this week. As I've been looking, rest in peace, John Madden. If you're like me, he taught me the game of football. So I was able to pick up some of those old games. Shout out to John Madden. So, but I know what y'all here to hear me talk about. So let's get into it. Folks, it's official. We're getting Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. Now, this is a match, a dream match, certainly, right? A lot of people was upset, and as I was on here last week, immediately after pay-per-view, I told y'all, there's a potential. It could happen. All roads lead to WrestleMania. Well, guess what? Not going to happen at WrestleMania. Was I upset? No, not at all. Because instead, we're going to get it at the Royal Rumble. And to me, this makes the Royal Rumble, this is why this is, in some people's eyes, second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Now, some people will say SummerSlam. Some people say Royal Rumble. Each his own. I'm more of a SummerSlam guy, to be honest with you, but I love the Rumble. It's 2A and 2B. I can't really call it the Royal Rumble number 3. But nonetheless, this is a big money matchup right here. It could go either way because there's all this talk about WWE's going to sell or they're going to merge the titles and all of this stuff. Well, guess what? We don't know. That's why we got to do those forbidding words. Let it play out. Oh, shout out to Jamari, said he got to get mad in 05. Yeah, man, definitely. I might have to stream that one day because it was definitely one I enjoyed. Appreciate y'all tuning in on Twitch. Got a couple people watching. But I'm looking at it, right? And I said, you know what? Here's the thing with Madden. I said Madden. The Royal Rumble. That's what I was trying to do today as well. You got, like I said, Brock and Bobby. Anything can happen because Bobby looks like $1 million right now. He looks like he is a man on a mission. Brock Lesnar's distracted. And that's the thing people don't talk about. Why? Because he didn't discard Raw necessarily. But he did let it be known, hey, guess what? I'll see you, Roman. I'll see you on Friday night. So now, with those two, and I love the dynamic that happened. Paul Heyman, he's caught in between. He's talking about how the tribal chief, and then Roman's calling him all types of names in the book, but then he tells Brock, don't talk to him like that. So now, this is what I've been saying from day one, no pun intended, that we could see Brock and we can see Brock turn on Bobby. Brock turn on, Paul Heyman turn on Brock. We could. And Jamari said, please let Bobby go over. Don't know if it'll happen, but please, and guess what? It's not far-fetched because if the big money matchup is still, and the ultimate matchup is still Roman and Bobby, Roman and Brock at WrestleMania, right? If that's still the plan, why not Bobby go over? Because if Bobby goes over, that means he walks into WrestleMania. Look, it's still 2 nights. This is why I have a hard time seeing them merging the titles right now. I would see them, if WrestleMania was one night, I could kind of really see it. But because when I see a title merger, what I see is somebody being on both shows, the network wanting both people. But then I feel like the networks don't want both of these people to be on the same time. So I don't know. But with that being said, if Bobby goes over, he could be the one facing a Seth Rollins, a Big E, a Kevin Owens, all of them again. He could be the one facing them on night one, and Bobby and Brock, and it's a lot of B's, Brock and Roman be the ones they're facing. He said, hope it's not title for title because it takes away from the Royal Rumble. Well, remember, so It's not gonna be titles. I see what you're saying. Okay. That's another thing. That's the biggest part. Now here's an issue, right? Because you could have title for title on one night, and then the winner faces the Royal Rumble winner on the second night. So it's a lot of different dynamics, but I don't think it's going to be title for title. I like Seth Rollins. I do. I like Seth Rollins going against Roman Reigns. It was interesting because I'm thinking, I didn't know what Seth was coming to do. I didn't know if he was trying to tell him, look, I need you to beat down Brock, or I'm coming for the WWE. I didn't know what he was talking about, right? But now this puts Seth Rollins in a different dynamic with Roman. That's obviously long-term storytelling. But we've seen this match before, right? We've seen it at Money in the Bank one year when Rollins beat him for the title. We've seen it on SmackDown, before Seth Rollins went to Raw, became Monday Night Rollins. But now, when you see this match, what you're getting is a different Seth Rollins and a different Roman. That's what's going to make this interesting. I'm interested to see those promo battles, to hear what Seth Rollins has to say about the tribal chief. That's what I'm interested in. So, like I said, overall, I think this is good heading into the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble itself is always kind of what's going to happen? What's going to happen, right? But now we really see, okay, now that we go into this, we see, okay, we don't know what's going to happen with the title picture, and we sure enough don't know what's going to happen with the Royal Rumble. It's not as wide open, right? Like, I was thinking at one point AJ Styles could be the Royal Rumble winner. Big E is another person who could win it, right? Seth Rollins is not going to win it now. Hopefully not. I hate when they put people in the matches. So it's so wide open, and that's what makes this time of year some of the best times to watch professional wrestling. Now, here's another thing. Like, I was thinking about Big E, right? And I know there's this big discussion. You can check out what I had to say on the Mac Mania podcast. But I'll give you a preview, and say something different. But basically, that add to what I was saying. Everybody's upset. Big E, but he represented the company. That first title reign, and Kaz said this on the Masked Man show, that first title reign is always kind of like the prep to get you ready. The real Dwayne Allen and I have said this over and over and over again. Those first title reigns are weird, man. You go look at Edge, Bret the Hitman Hart, The Rock. Their very first title reigns, they weren't like, oh my goodness, they didn't blow you away. Those are usually like, oh, okay, this guy's a world champ. He's in the championship picture. Jeff Hardy, the same way. Championship picture now. Let's get used to it. Everybody's not a John Cena. Everybody's not a Seth Rollins. So I like Big E taking the pin because if the way it was done, if we step away from the actual pin and see the execution, it makes sense. Big E got hot, but he thought too fast. He interrupted Brock, the Hurt Lock, and thought he could get Brock up. So essentially, he made a wrong decision, thinking, okay, I could put Brock in the, in his finisher, but instead, maybe he should have put Bobby Lashley in. Who knows? And he got caught in F5, 1, 2, 3, and that's why I'm okay with him taking the pin. And as now we move forward, I'm interested to see because he looked good in that 4-way match. And I thought all the guys looked good. This is what I've been saying about Monday Night Raw. It's so much fun for people to say, oh, Raw is crap and this is that and the other. But I thought he looked good and I thought everything worked out well. So now I'm interested to see what happens as time moves forward. This is what's making Monday Night Raw must-see TV because Monday Night Football is over. Now, this Monday is huge. It's a championship game. Do WWE tap out to the championship game or do they try to compete? It's Alabama. It's Georgia. It's the rematch. So we're going to see. Oh, man. Last week, I talked about this on last week's show. But, it's been a lot of talk about Swole and Tony Khan. And then, Big Swole. Let me put some respect on her name. Big Swole. And then there was, Mark Henry. And Mark Henry said he thought Tony Khan was getting a Raw deal and whatnot. And I think the biggest thing that people – no, I know the biggest thing, the one people are just dismissing is Big Swole talked about the way people are presented on TV. You know, she talked about the lack of diversity on television at the top of the card. But everybody forgets she put over the company probably, if you go back and listen to Dean Ambrose's podcast, a.k.a. John Moxley, if you listen to his podcast with Jericho after he left WWE, it was not the way Swole's was. If you listen to CM Punk after he left WWE, it was not the way Swole's was. So that's an issue that everybody's sweeping under the rug, and I just think it was the biggest thing. My biggest takeaway from Mark Henry's comments was when he said he didn't talk to Swole. To me, you didn't do your homework. When you going out there saying all this stuff, like, why wouldn't you talk to her? Why wouldn't you say, hey, Swole, well, let's address this? I also didn't like the fact that he tried to quote unquote throw her under the bus when he said, you know, all the stuff that they do in the community and she don't be a part of it. She was invited, but she doesn't be a part of it. Did we need to know that? So I think everybody, the part that's bothered me is everybody taking an opportunity to bang and beat up on this black woman when she never once said Tony Khan was racist. And if you listen to people, especially a lot of the black podcasters with some sense, they'll all say, and let me take that back. If you listen to a lot of the prominent black podcasters, they'll say the same thing. We never said that Tony Khan was racist. Trust me. You know, we've seen it. That isn't it. A shout out to Trey D. Terry from We Love Wrestling. He had me and quite a few other people on his show to talk diversity on We Love Wrestling. It's a great conversation. Make sure you check it out. Like I said, We Love Wrestling. It was me, my boy Cal. Y'all know Cal from Black Wrestling. Spice Spiegel and Nicole. I think that was her name. Pardon me. I drew a blank. I'm trying to pull it up because I want to make sure I credit this lady properly. But yeah, from Down for the Count. Yeah, the lady from Down for the Count podcast. And we had a very important conversation. And I thought it was, I could just go on. It's on Spotify right now. So make sure y'all check that out. Because, or Apple, you know, wherever you get your podcast from, obviously, I like Spotify, not just because of place of employment, but also because of where I can, you know, go, and it's just easier. But yeah, Tay, the creative behind the Black Girl Magic Show. Yep, Nicole from the Down for the Count podcast, Cal from Black Wrestling. And like I said, we had a great conversation just talking about diversity in wrestling. And then for the ladies to speak up. And this was very important for these ladies to get to talk about this and be able to be in a place where they could be respected. Because if you know anything about me and my circle, that's the one thing we do. If anybody I'm going to associate with, I'm not going to associate with people who disrespect women, especially women in the creative spaces. So, yeah, make sure y'all check that out. Chat going off. Oh. But I want to say congratulations to Jade. Jade is the new TBS champion, the first ever, the inaugural TBS champion, defeating Ruby Soho on AEW's first show on TBS now. I really wish the belt looked different. That's just me. Y'all can look and see. I'm a belt guy, so I'm always looking at the designs. I didn't like when WWE made the women's belts look like the men's belts. That was the thing I liked about the AEW women's title. Now, to me, the TBS title, I mean, it doesn't, I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't look like a women's belt, but I think because it looks so much like the TNT belt, it doesn't feel like it have its own identity. So that's the issue I have with it. But, you know, regardless of what, Jade is the champion. I thought it was cool. Definitely a great moment for her daughter to come out there. It just shows representation for the mothers, you know, and Swole talked about that. You know, she said Jade works hard. She was in, if you go on the Chillin' app, I think it's called the Chillin' app. I know, yeah, I should. Yeah, it's call-in app. I call it the chilling app. But if you call it the call-in app, she did her live podcast, and I was sat in and listened to the conversation. And one of the things she did talk about was the fact that how hard Jade works, right? How she works harder than anybody else. And I ain't gonna say anybody else, but she was learning, and she told her she got her, So she said, look, she was gonna get the belt. It's not a diversity thing, and that's the stuff that people don't hear. People like Mark Henry and other people who just want to jump in and beat down Swole. Look, I understand Tony Khan, your boy, and when I was listening to Public Enemy's podcast, they had Lovely on there, and one of the things she said, it costs nothing to shut up. So that's it for that. So enough of the the drama in pro wrestling, or call it the negativity or whatever. The one person what we today was a recording Saturday night, Battle for the Belts. AEW had Battle for the Belts, where we did see Britt Baker retain the championship. She retained going up against Riho. So finally, she earns a win over Riho. It was a solid match. Congratulations to her. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk about this Forbidden Door, man, because I'm excited about this. But let me show y'all a clip from the Wrestling Realm, our flagship show. Make sure y'all check that out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Zick, don't get me wrong. I take nothing away from Dolph Ziggler. An extreme talent, but he has the same issue that he's always had. Nothing he does ever sticks. He has these iconic moments, but once he's there, he can never stay there. I don't know what he's missing.
Now, people say it was injury, but I beg to differ. I understand he did get hurt from either Del Rio. I think Del Rio kicked him in the head too hard, or Swagger kicked him. But regardless of what, it's still, during that run, or whatever, it still wasn't, nothing was working. It wasn't like, oh man, Dolph Ziggler was not must-see TV as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, or the World Heavyweight Champion at that time.
The reason it does make a difference to me is because you see the same pattern with Dolph Ziggler. So you can make as many excuses as you want, but the same thing will kind of happen to him over and over again throughout
Baby
all
Shawn
of his
Michaels.
runs. I guess that's what you want to call the guy, but.
Wow, that was quick. As I'm posting in groups and having a hard time sharing, well, not a hard time sharing the link, but I want to, make sure I shared in a couple of my Discords. Shout out to the PWA, the Pro Wrestling Anonymous group. Shout out to the Wrestling Misfits. So I'm, making sure I let them know. Where is it? Plug yourself. Oh, I guess I hit the wrong chat, but yeah, just want to let people know, I'm live right now here on. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, make sure y'all share the link right now if you're watching on Twitch, as I appreciate all the support. And if you're watching in post-production, make sure you share it. Tell your friends. Tell your friends about the Wrestling Realm, So, let's talk about this Forbidden Door coming up at the Royal Rumble. It is official. Impact Women's Knockouts, I should say Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James will be a participant in the 30 Women Battle Royal. That is exciting. Huge. We always talk about this Forbidden Door, right? Triple H told y'all that WWE was willing to work with other people. We saw that with Evolve. And I think people wanted to see, they wanted to see the big matchups with WWE and New Japan. Obviously, they wanted to see then, when AEW came along, WWE, AEW, whatever. It's not the first time WWE has worked with Impact. Now it's the first time in a talent perspective, but we've seen Ric Flair come to the Hall of Fame. We've seen Christian do some stuff or go over there and do inductions. But now we're going to have talent. And we're going to have talent in the ring. And she's the women's champion. And you saw WWE tweet out that Mickie James would be there. You saw Impact tweet out that she would be going to WWE. And that's the part that's exciting. Now, this is the part that I'm waiting to see. Will we see the men? Will we see people, will we see like a Chris Bay, maybe a Matt Cardona, a Moose? Will we see these people enter the Royal Rumble? If I'm Impact, do I send my champion to enter their Royal Rumble? Maybe, maybe not. I've heard people say like stuff like, well, WWE's mentioned Impact Wrestling's name more than AEW did, because that was supposed to be the forbidden door, right? But I think this is huge now. It's unfortunate news that, well, no, before I go there, because I do want to address something. I saw people saying stuff like Mickie James sold out and all this other stuff. And I think it's just, once again, people trolling, people who don't understand the business, people who, if they was running a wrestling company, I would not want to work for them, or I wouldn't trust them in my wrestling company, because I don't think this is selling out. Yeah, she did go on record complaining about the way her stuff was discarded, rightfully so. It was addressed, and that's the thing that Dwayne had talked about a while ago. We talked about this on Wrestling Realm Now podcast, where sometimes by the time stuff gets to Vince McMahon, he does, it's too late, right? And he apologized to a team like FTR for the way the system failed them. He apologized to them. Aleister Black, he left gracefully, bowed out gracefully. Daniel Bryan, who was Bryan Danielson, bowed out gracefully. Sometimes that these people, these fans get all worked up about behind the scenes, and they read these dirt sheets and they start taking things so seriously that they don't understand it's a business. Because guess what? If I'm Mickie James, I ain't worried about what you got to say. Y'all don't pay my bills. And I think this is a huge opportunity. It's a huge check. It's a Royal Rumble check. Are you kidding me? So, and she's a legend. Let's face it. She's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. She had an issue. They addressed it. They squashed it. Boom. You move on. Now, what's unfortunate is we will not be getting the boss, Sasha Banks. She tweeted that, it was revealed that she'll be out 6 to 8 weeks with a foot injury. All prayers go out to her. We hope that, things will be better. And I think it's unfortunate, but the best part is that, she will be back in time for WrestleMania. Now, this puts my plans, y'all know what I was saying. I said Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha wins the Royal Rumble. Now we'll see. Bayley's already tweeted out some emojis. Will Bayley be the winner of the Royal Rumble? Now, I will say this. I wish they didn't reveal the names. I wish, they didn't have to tell us everybody. Now, I like the Mickie James announcement for obvious reasons, right? This helps Impact because now a lot of people's tuning to Impact. Shout out to Mickie James retaining the championship against Deonna Purrazzo. So it did put eyeballs on that product. I respect that. But people like Summer Rae and Lita and all those people, we've seen them in the Royal Rumble before, but I just didn't think they needed to name them. Let's just be surprised and that anticipation. So I'm really hoping they don't do that with the men. I just hope we turn on January 29th, on Saturday, January 29th, when we're watching the Royal Rumble, we can just sit back and enjoy it and be shocked. Like, oh my goodness, this person's here. You know how we used to be back in the day. Because, we obviously know these people not winning it. So, and how crazy would that be if Mickie James won the Royal Rumble? And then you really have a forbidden door. But, well, one, I know wrestling fans complain, they got all these wrestlers here, but then she couldn't win the Royal Rumble. And then we get Mickie versus Charlotte, right? And it's title for title. Or not title for title, but just, title for title, or champion versus champion, right? So that's just something. We know it's not going to happen, but it would be interesting to see that. But it's prayers out to Sasha Banks. Tonight Impact, Tasha Steelz won the inaugural Knockouts Ultimate X match, so congratulations to her. Definitely would love to see her wear Impact Wrestling gold, folks. I think it'll be great. Moose retained his championship. Sammy Guevara on Battle of the Belts became the interim TNT champion. While Cody is out, he will be the TNT champion. And he beat Dustin Rhodes. I didn't really care for the match. I thought it was a lot of spots. As a wrestling fan, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, okay, they're doing this move and that move, and all the Canadian Destroyer, folks. It's not special anymore. When I first saw Petey Williams do it in person in 2005, I was blown away. And then when I would see him do that move, but now, because it was like, that's what made Petey Williams special. Now I'm seeing everybody do it in every match. It's just getting to the point. It's just a drop kick now. And it's like, it's such a dangerous move, but it's so pretty. It used to be, but now it's not anymore. You saw one in the match, then you saw one through the table. So, yeah, not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. So, I'm just not a fan of the Canadian Destroyer no more. And I think that was unfortunate. To me, that's what, just like I said, just too many spots. And that's why I was like, all right, I'm good. Next match, whatever, which was the FTW Championship. I can't remember. Ricky Starks, I think. But the FTW champion retained. So I watched a little bit of AEW Rampage last night. Seeing Hook. Now, I understand, he's supposed to be this big deal. And I know my boy Blake would be like, yo, are you serious? I guess because I missed the promos, I'm probably fast forwarding through it. So I'm like not really on to Hook as everybody else is. But teach his own. He's over. And right now, to me, he's the most over person on the roster. If we outside Bryan Danielson, which him and Kenny Omega had, him and Hangman Page had another phenomenal match. Hangman Page won. Yes, like I said, you can pin Bryan Danielson. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying Bryan Danielson on the regular. I'm just telling y'all. But yeah, you can pin him. It's okay. It's okay. But he's still the champion. And now that he's still the champion, we got we moving forward. That I'm interested to see what happens there. But I think with Hangman Page and Danielson, I'm looking, okay, who's next, right? But when you think about it, I'm looking at these CM Punk matches, I'm like, and CM Punk and MJF, they're getting in these promo battles, and you saw Shawn Dean out there, and he beat MJF, and he's bragging about that on Twitter, but guess what? It don't really mean nothing. You got GTS at the end, so it's like, all right, whatever. But, it's just us wrestler fans reading into stuff too much. So, yeah, that's where I am with that, as, looking for, as we move forward into next week. But that'll be it for this week's episode of Break It Down, Brian H. Keeping it 100. Shout out to everybody. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Go ahead, throw that on the screen for you one more time. For all the places you can catch the Wrestling Realm, on Instagram and on Twitter at Wrestling Realm. Facebook, obviously, just search Wrestling Realm. Same with YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications, folks. But until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. Too sweet.